Gopi Jana Vallabha Giripara Hare. Slow, slow. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giripara Hare. Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotaya Satashila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki, Anantakota Vaishnavinda ki, Nama Acharya Shla Haridasa Thakur ki, Prem se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gauda Bhaktivedanta ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Ganga Maya ki, Yamuna Maya ki, Tulasi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki, Lord Chaitanya's Harinama Sankirtanam ki, Brihat Mridanga ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Gaurnitai ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Shabadra ki, Shri Radha Ballabha ki, Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki, Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Ki Namane. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavari Astachadeshtatarine. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome everybody this morning for Śrīmad Bhāgavatam hearing. And we are hearing from the 8th canto, I believe, chapter 23, text 15. Is that correct? This title of this chapter is The Demigods Regain the Heavenly Planets. Yeah. My eyesight back here. This is a remarkable section of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And we're just about to come on to, I think we are, a verse, yes, maybe my favorite verse in the whole Bhagavatam, practically speaking. The next one's 16. So today is 15, and Shukracharya is about to speak. Sometimes most of the profound verses are spoken not always by the expected personality. Even Hiranyakashipu speaks very wonderful philosophy after the death of his brother Hiranyaksha. Very basic, but very profound. And now Shukracharya is about to describe the faults Lord Vishnu asked him. Basically speaking, why have you cursed my devotee, whatever, Bali Maharaj, why have you cursed him to go down to the lower planets? What did he do wrong? He wanted to offer everything to me. What did he do wrong? So now Shukracharya is replying to us, and of course to Lord Vishnu. Please repeat. Shri Shukra Uvacha Kutaha Tat Karma Vaishamyam Yasha Karma Ishvaraha Bhavan Yajna Ishaha Yajna Purushaha Sarva Bhavena Pujitaha Shri Shukruvacha Kutastat Karma Vaishamyam Yasya Karmeshvaro Bhavan Yagyesha Yagya Purusha Sarva Bhavena Pujitaha Shri Shukrovacha Kutastat Karma Vaishamyam Yasya Karmeshvaro Bhavan Yagyesho Yagapurusha Sarva Bhavena Pujitaha Shri Shukrovacha Kutastat Karma Vaishamyam Yasya Karmeshvaro Bhavan Yagyesho Yagapurusha Sarva Bhavena Pujitaha. Shri Shukavacha Yatya Karmeshvaro Bhavan Yagesho Yagapurusha Sarva Bhavena Pujitaha Shri Shukra Uvacha Sarva Bhavena Pujitaha. Ladies. Shri Shukra Uvacha Tat Karma Vaishamyam Karmeshvaro Bhavan Purushaha Sarvabhavena Pujitaha. Shri Shukra Uvacha Kutastu Karma Vaishamyam Yagya Kameshwaro Bhavan Yagesho Yagya Purusha Sarvabhavena Pujitaha. Shri Shukra Uvacha. Sri Shukracharya said, Kutaha, where is that? Tat, of him, Bali Maharaj, Karma Vaishamyam, discrepancies in discharging fruitive activities. Is it on an electronic screen or a handwritten one? I can't see from here. Handwritten, okay. So, good. It's electronic, you can see the whole thing. Bhavan, your lordship. Yagya Ishaha, you are the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Yagya Purusha, you are the person for whose pleasure all sacrifices are offered. Sarva Bhavena, in all respects, Pujitaha, having worshipped. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Shukracharya said, my Lord, you are the enjoyer and lawgiver in all performances of sacrifice. And you are the Yagya Purusha, the person to whom all sacrifices are offered. If one has fully satisfied you, where is the chance of discrepancies or faults in his performance of sacrifice? This is Shukracharya speaking. It's kind of a turnaround, isn't it? Unique. And it's also is addressed here as Shri. Even Hiranyakashipu, if you read in the third canto, Shri Hiranyakashipu Uvacha, seventh canto, excuse me. Shri Hiranyakashipu Uvacha. The blessed Hiranyakashipu said. That's how Prabhupada has translated it. We don't usually think of him blessed as such. But, of course, what to say? Anyone we find in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is not an ordinary living entity. They may be in different roles, whether it's Duryodhana, or you're Shukracharya, or whoever they may be. They're we all know if we're in a drama, and many of you are probably taken part in dramas, acting. You may take the role of a demon, and generally devotees are very good at taking the role of demons, I've noticed. Much better than the role of devotees. Have you noticed that? I don't know if you have that in Melbourne or not, but at least the West. Well, in the Western world, we're all born, basically speaking, in demoniac society. So it's not difficult to kind of manifest that mentality. Maybe for Indian devotees it's a little different, but for we Western-born, whatever, it's quite easy. And it's very exciting. And it's very purifying. So we say sometimes this happens, regularly this happens, the Lord requests or engages his devotees in playing the role of opponents in various ways, so that, because this is a relationship with the Lord, this desire of us fighting, opposing if Shukracharya hadn't been on the scene, then this whole pastime would have not manifested. And, Bali Maharaj's Atmanivedanam, the devotee recognized as being the perfect example of Atmanivedanam, one who surrenders everything. And it shows, even here, this whole pastime is unique because he disobeyed his official spiritual master. There are some exceptional cases where that happens. When in this particular case, the spiritual master is contradicting the very instructions which he'd already gave in terms of performing yajna amongst those receivers of the yajna, those present in yajna. Lord Vishnu is primary, but now when the time came, Bali Maharaj, of course, wanted to offer Lord Vishnu whatever he wanted. Shukracharya was vehemently objecting to this. Don't give him anything. Typical mentality that materialistic people have. Prabhupada says, as soon as you get what you want, you kind of kick them away. Whether it's dealings with people sometimes, and with God also. As long as he gives me what I want, then I'm okay, then I can get rid of him and move on, or move in. So Shukracharya was kind of, in that way, manifesting that mentality. God is only so much use as long as he gives you what you want. You're welcome. I don't know how we're going to organize this. There's a young couple at the door there. Please help them. I don't think they're familiar. Maybe you need a chair or something, I don't know. Can we move forward a little bit? The door is almost blocked. And if anyone comes in, they really don't know where to go. Make space for the ladies also, if anyone else comes in. It also makes it easier to get out. If you want to get out, it makes it easier too. More space to escape. We'll read the purport. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, and I think most of you are very familiar with this verse, Melbourne is world famous for its serious application of studying Srila Prabhupada's books, which is wonderful. In the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 29, this particular verse is, of course, every verse in the Bhagavad Gita is equally profound, but this verse is very specially famous. Who knows why? 529. Why is this verse in ISKCON particularly singled out as one of the most, let's say, prominent? I don't know what you call it, but for Srila Prabhupada, famous verse. Anyone know? Pardon? Who said that? Oh, you said the peace formula, yes. The peace formula. Everyone's looking for peace. Prabhupada, in 1966, I think it was. Yeah, it was the first summer of ISKCON, when the devotees, Prabhupada went with the devotees to a peace rally at the United Nations building in New York. The peace rally. And at the peace rally, the idea was the devotees would chant Hare Krishna. But then when they got there, they said that this is a silent protest. So they chanted, Hare Bol, Hare Krishna, how are you? Sava? Are you good? Good, 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 good. That spot there is, we have to put, eventually when he moves to the spiritual world, you have to put a picture there on that column there. Wonderful. So, yes, so they chanted japa silently, sat there. But they also published this peace formula, a little brochure which was basically this verse of the Bhagavad Gita and the commentary of how to bring about real peace, not just this stopgap systems that they have now and artificially trying to bring about peace. There's no question of peace if we're not peaceful within. You can make any rule you like, but it doesn't make the person peaceful. The purpose of what we term peaceful society is to facilitate the real peace of the soul, not just to enact somebody's idea of how people should be controlled, but how Krishna is the controller. That's the only. So this verse emphasizes that, the peace formula. And we printed, when we say we as a movement, I don't know how many millions of this little brochure, peace formula, over the years. Right up to the 80s, we were printing this by the million for mass distribution, the peace formula. So I don't know if any of those peace formulas, little tiny brochures, are still available, but millions of people came in contact with this verse. Bhaktaram altogether. I can see many of you are familiar with this verse, some are not so familiar. Sometimes we're not so familiar with the translation as we are with the Sanskrit verse. What's the translation? It's only indicated here, doesn't give the whole translation. What's the translation of that verse in English, please?
A person in full consciousness of me.
Oh, thank you. You've got it on your mobile phone. Very well done. This is how you all pass your Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, etc. With a little help from my friend, my best friend, my mobile phone. I don't know, I'm asking you, I'm not asking me. I want you to say it. Come on. We're going to have to ask Mr. Guru to answer this, or can you answer it? What's the translation? You don't have to get it word for word, don't worry. I'm not that hungry. What's the translation? Come on. Yes, sir.
Krishna says, one who knows me as the enjoyer of all sacrifices, the proprietor of everything, and everyone's well-wisher, attains peace.
Yes. Peace from the pangs of material existence. Everyone's searching for peace. In any condition, in heaven or hell, one who's Narayana Paraksavena Kutaschana Bibhyati. It doesn't matter where they are. Svarga, Apavaga, Narakeshu. Even in Narakeshu, even in the lower planets, it doesn't matter. To a devotee who's Narayana Parayana, one who's taken shelter of the Lord. They're peaceful everywhere. Not disturbed. They may be disturbed in the sense that other living entities are not bringing pleasure to Krishna, but that's a different paradukkha, completely different cause. But internally, one who is Narayana Parayana is the only really peaceful person because he doesn't have any other desires. His desire is not to enjoy the fruits of the work. His desire is not to gain freedom from karma. His idea is not to gain liberation. All these are selfish desires. And as long as we have selfish desires, we will suffer. We will not be peaceful. We'll never be satisfied. I think we mentioned, was it last night or the night before, I can't remember. I was listening to a lecture in Mayapur, Devakinandan Prabhu, a lawyer from Singapore. He was quoting, he's a very learned scholar. I guess he's been here. Has he been here, Devakinandan Prabhu? From Singapore? I don't know if you know him. Sydney, yeah? Yeah, he's got a lot of god brothers and sisters there. Vishnu Goswami disciple, but he's very learned, although he doesn't show it off. He's very learned. He was quoting a verse in the 11th canto, a verse you probably haven't got. I can't even remember it. But he's describing one of the same statements in that verse. It says, our misery begins as soon as we try to make happiness in this world. As soon as we try to be happy in this world, our misery begins. We don't understand. Our endeavors to enjoy or exploit or control this world are the causes. Of course, there's a cause behind that cause, but within this world is the cause of our suffering. And without an understanding of this statement here, that Krishna is the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Everything we do is meant for his enjoyment, not ours. And that he is the actual proprietor of everything. It's such a simple verse, but it's so profound, isn't it? It's a simple formula. That's why Prabhupada called it the peace formula. You don't need to spend billions of dollars sitting in Geneva in some peace conference, and then the day after everyone goes to war with each other. People are, unfortunately, in ignorance, and whatever reason you understand, but refuse to accept the words of Krishna. Even we don't oftentimes look where the real solution is. We look to all kinds of makeshift solutions. The real problem is at the root, not on the branch. We want the branch to be nice, but the branch is going to fall off sooner or later. We're always looking for, branch solutions, twig solutions, leaf solutions. Solve this problem, then this problem, then this problem. Go back, dig it up, this thing, that thing, this thing, that thing. You can do that for eternity. There's no end to it. But this is the one-stop solution, you could say. Then you can gain freedom, peace, and freedom from the pangs, the miseries of material existence. When you've been in the material world so long, we don't even recognize how miserable it is. Isn't it? It's not just about having a backache or stomach ache or a headache or some disease or whatever it is. But the very existence itself is so incompatible. Initially, when the child comes out of the womb, and many of you experience the child experiences, but he can't remember, but many of the parents have seen, those who have children, not only for the mother, it's a very painful experience, isn't it? I'm told it is. I can't remember previous lifetimes, but I'm told by those in this lifetime who've had children, it's a very physically painful experience to give birth. And for the child, it's probably very painful too. We can hardly imagine what it's like being in the womb. We can. It's scary, isn't it? It's pretty scary in many ways. Stuck there. I mean, you can read about that in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, but it's maybe the 3rd or so. But it's not at all a natural situation or a comfortable situation. It's like the last thing we like, being isolated. You don't even know if there's any other existence outside of the womb, maybe. And you're stuck there. And it's dark. And you have zero free will, practically. It really is hell. It's a really hellish situation in reality. We don't think about it. We write it off that there's no life. There is no life, so there's nothing to worry about there. Life comes. And then when the child comes out of the womb, that must be an excruciating experience. And it's gone. I'm going to get into the graphic aspect of it, but it must be very excruciatingly painful. That's what I can imagine it would be anyway. Being pretty much crushed as you come out. And then the child oftentimes is unconscious from the trauma, isn't it? And I don't know if they still do that, but when I was a kid, they used to slap you on the back to try to bring you to, you know. You have to do that when a devotee is sleeping also at night to wake them up. You have to give them a good slap on the back, you know, and hope they don't punch you in the face when they come to. Pour a bucket of water on them or something. You don't know about that. In the Brahmacharya ashram, it's sometimes like that. But, you know, then what's the first thing the child usually does? I mean, there are always exceptions to every norm, but generally what does the child do? Cry. Do you normally cry when you're feeling blissful? Maybe transcendental ecstasy, but that's not usually the situation of the child, that he's ecstatic upon entering into this terrible situation. It's not terrible compared to the womb, but it's a completely different situation. You know, he's never breathed before. And you're coming into this atmosphere. I just can't imagine what it feels like. Completely new atmosphere, nothing. You don't have any connection with it up to now as such. And suddenly one's exposed to this situation. It's pretty dramatic, isn't it? Everything, boom, all at once. It's like, you know, even at our stage, if you're suddenly placed into a situation where you don't know anything and you can't relate to anything, and no one, you know, it's like you're completely unable to communicate with anything, and it's like nobody knows where you're from, what your feelings are, nothing. Pretty difficult situation. You're helpless. Of all species of life, I think the human species is the most helpless, isn't it? When you watch an insect or an animal, because the insects you may not watch, but animals, you'll see that very quickly the animal gets it together, doesn't it? And within minutes, the baby calf is going for the mother's teats, right? Standing up, maybe within 40, 50, I don't know, not long. Standing on its feet and trying to get the milk from the mother's teats. The mother's not doing it, the calf is doing it, quickly. The child has no idea what to do, baby human. Completely, absolutely helpless. It's weird situation. It's completely unnatural for the soul to be in that situation. It's an unnatural situation for the baby, and that's why it's crying and crying and crying. And really we're spending our whole life crying in different ways, isn't it? Searching, we're not happy. I want this, I want that. Maybe literally crying, sometimes going, help, I need help. Doctor, I need help. Go to the counselor, I need help. You know, to the social services, I need help. I'm helpless. We're completely in our wrong. We're wrongly situated in this world. It's as that. We don't belong in this world. How can we be peaceful in an abnormal condition? It's not possible. It's a futile endeavor. Futile to be happy, peaceful in this world. But we try and try and try and try and try. And then we cry and cry and cry and cry. And then we die and die and die and die. And we fry and fry in between as well. We're not meant to. We're meant to be peaceful, happy, comfortable. But we're in the wrong atmosphere. And it's so, this is a small thing. Let's see what Prabhupada says. The Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, is the actual person to be satisfied by the performance of yajnas. The Vishnu Purana says, Varnashrama charavata purushena parak puman Vishnur aradhyate panta nanyat tattoshakaranam. All the Vedic ritualistic sacrifices are performed for the purpose of satisfying Lord Vishnu. That's human society, when it's directed towards satisfying Lord Vishnu. What happens if you don't? You get entangled in Maya, you get karmic reactions. Yagatat karma, local young karma bandhana. One becomes bound up in karma bandhana. The work done is meant to be done as a sacrifice for Vishnu, otherwise we become bound in karma, good or bad. And everybody wants good karma, isn't it? We pray to Krishna for good karma. Please forgive me for my wicked deeds, isn't it? Prayer, common prayer. Now millions of people are at the Sangam, the Kumbh Mela. And mostly, I don't know, not all, but many of them are there. They hope to become free of their sinful reactions, isn't it? Maybe elevated to heaven. Some are a little more spiritually advanced, they want liberation. But not many people are going there to evoke pure devotional service to the Yogi Purush. They want him to give them what they want, mostly. It's pious, but it's not spiritual. Keeps us in the cycle of birth and death. Doesn't awaken our loving relationship with Krishna. It takes a long time, like long process, very long, before we realize that's not what it's all about. People are so ignorant of their real existence, their real natures. But the real purpose of these rituals is to please Lord Vishnu, not me. And when we know he's the proprietor, then it becomes, and he's the real friend. You know, if you give everything to somebody, if the person's somewhat human, how do you feel? If somebody is always, coming, I want to help you, I want to give you gifts, how do you feel? You feel good? You feel indebted, don't you? Some kind of in debt. You want to reciprocate. Huh? You think God is not, everything comes from him. He has more than anyone that heart. More than anyone. You do a little service for Krishna. You can't say he's indebted, but we're all indebted to him. But at the same time, he reciprocates like that. He wants to give to the devotee, to the one who renders some little service. Prabhupada said, even if you give 1 cent in devotion, and not even in devotion, somehow or another, Gyata Sukriti, you give 1 cent, which is used in Krishna's service. Krishna notes that. Thank you very much. Then he reciprocates with that person and blesses that person on the path to come to him. So it's reciprocation here. I don't know, there's a nice English word, I've forgotten it right now, which describes that. So here we see another aspect in this verse. All the Vedic rituals, sacrifices, the whole society was arranged, the divisions of society, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, the Brahmacharyas, the Grihastas, the Vanaprastas and the Sannyasis. How many Vanaprastas do we have here? Hands up, all the Vanaprastis or Vanaprastas. Anybody brave enough? There we go, one brave devotee. Anyone? Some of you look over 50 years of age. Some of you. Anyone over? Now I'm going to put you in difficulty. Maybe you're not ready for that. But Panchasordvam Vanam Vrajet, at the age of 50, you're supposed to take Vanaprast. You're meant to go to the forest, isn't it? Is that what we're supposed to do? The Shastras state that. It's not as easy as it sounds. Vanaprast is a state of consciousness more than a physical maneuver. And that state of consciousness is a natural evolvement if one has properly executed one's duties as a brahmachari and as a grihasta. Husband and wife are prepared for that life, but most people are not. They're still very attached to family and paraphernalia. That's all right. In one sense, Kali Yuga, you expect that. So these things are not so emphasized in Kali Yuga, but still we should bear it in mind. The value of detaching ourselves from the bondage of this world, or the falsity of so-called security in this world. Everything's meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavatam, in the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, there are several verses there. And the verse Tak Pumbir Dvija Shveshta Varnashrama Vibhagashaha. You know that verse? Vanusitasya Dharmasya Sangsidhir Haritoshnam. You know that verse? Sangsidhir Haritoshnam, you may know. Everything's meant for pleasing Hari. Sangsidhir Haritoshnam, the pleasure of Hari. Everything we do is meant for his pleasure. No matter where we are in the Varnashram, every division of the Varnashram is meant for that purpose. It's a God-given system, Chaturvanya Maya Shrishtam, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. It's given by Krishna. And if we cooperate with that gift of Krishna, then one can progress. It's a slow process again. It's another form of slow process, whether it's the Karma Kandya process or the Varnashrama process. But they're God-given systems of progressing. We see in the Bhagavatam, maybe not so much this particular incident, but take the example of King Prithu. King Prithu was performing yagyas here and there, and there are other examples in the Bhagavatam of great personalities who perform these karmakandya yagyas. Not that they themselves are inclined, but for the benefit of others, so that others will be benefited. And not only that, but to teach others how to do it properly so that they can actually advance on the spiritual path also. To bring auspiciousness, different reasons they do it. Although it's not their ultimate purpose, is to worship Krishna, of course. Kali Yuga, these yogyas are not effective. Bathing in the rivers, holy rivers, is always good, but it's a very slow process. In this age, the yagya sankirtanam praya yujanti hi sumedasa. We were discussing last night, the Kali Yuga yagya is sankirtan. There is no other yagya. There is no other solution to all of our problems. Don't think we can solve our problems without sankirtan yagya. It won't work. No way. No matter what we do. There's only one way. And that's Sankirtan Yagya. Whatever our problem is, ultimately that's the only solution. Prabhupada goes on, that's the only way we can satisfy Lord Vishnu in this age, Sankirtan Yagya. To act according to this principle of the Varnashram institution is called Varna-ashrama-charana. Worshipping the Lord by acting according to one's duties. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also is a stepping which we have to bear in mind. It is certainly a part of every devotee's life. To what degree it's, executed, that may vary, but the principle is there that we have to act according to our natures, but for the pleasure of Krishna. If you're a woman, you act according to a woman's nature in service of Krishna. If you're a man, it's likewise. If you happen to be very intellectual, you use that in Krishna's service. Everything is like that. Whatever. If money comes our way, use it for Krishna. Some sit here, how to. Otherwise, it's shrama evi kevalam. It's a waste of time. It may look very good, but it's simply a waste of time, unless it's done for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. In the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, that's the verse I just quoted. I didn't read this before we started, but Prabhupada's quoting the same verse we just mentioned. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve in discharging his prescribed duties according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Essentially speaking, that's the meaning of bhakti, isn't it? That which brings pleasure to Krishna. It's not an activity in of itself. We do describe certain activities as this is bhakti or bhakti yoga. But the real essential meaning of bhakti is that which brings pleasure to Krishna. Not so much the activity. It's related. If the endeavor is mixed, it's connected, but it's not really bhakti, because there's still a motivation for our own enjoyment. We want to enjoy it. We want to get recognized. We want to get something out of it, isn't it? Oh, I want to feel good. Oh boy, if I do this, hopefully I'll feel peaceful, or I won't suffer anymore, or whatever it is. I'll do this, then I get extra maha. Whatever the motivation is, there's some motivation there. There's some of our own. We put our own thing in there, our own perspective of what it's all about. But bhakti means simply pleasing Krishna's senses. That's all. It's not a complicated thing, whatever that takes. And that may vary from person to person. After all, our body is Krishna's energy, but it's got its senses also. So those senses are meant for pleasing Krishna. And what one person's senses are, what one person's mind may be a little different to the next. We can't expect the next person's going to do the same thing. Some things may be general. We're all going to try to perform Sankirtan Yajna. But the details within that are going to be variant. If we have a different conditioning, a different mind and body which we've been given. We have to know how they can be best used for pleasing Krishna's senses. How they can become united with Krishna's senses. That's devotional service. Sarva upadi vinemuktam tatpadadvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha bhakti seva uchite. This is the definition also of pure devotional service, or at least the effects of pure devotional service are given when we're fully engaging our senses in the service of the master of the senses, Rishikesh. Then sarva upadi, all these false identities are removed, and tatpadadvena nirmalam, the heart becomes peaceful, cleansed, pure. We're making so much effort to try to adjust things in this world. The only thing that needs to be adjusted is not others, is not the things around us, is how we see it. We're seeing it separately from Krishna. We're seeing it in relationship with ourselves instead of in relationship with Krishna. So there's no solution to such an endeavor. That's why we're in this world. We stay here forever as long as we see things in relationship to ourselves. As Shukracharya was doing here in this pastime. But he's showing us. He's a teacher. He's an Acharya, although he's a seminal Acharya, you could say. But still, he's not, we may think, that's Shukracharya, I'm not like that. That's Indra, I'm not like that. Well, that's, whoever it is, that's not me. They're demons. That's not me. But they're showing us, they're trying to point these things out to us, that we have these tendencies. And what the result of following those tendencies are, and what the solution is to get free of those tendencies. So now he's speaking from the other perspective. Now he's glorifying the Lord. What chances are of discrepancies? There is no discrepancy in Bali Maharaj's activity. This is all you're doing, my Lord. He's instrumental, like in the drama, you're an instrument. You have to play the role to fulfill the purpose of the drama. And Prabhupada said even Duryodhana, we've heard this before, I'm sure. There's one conversation, sometimes we hear Duryodhana as a partial kind of form of Kali Yuga or something. Even still, Kali is also playing a part. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Where is that written? It's in the Bhagavatam, I think, in commentary, 11th canto Bhagavatam, 11th or 12th, can't remember. When the end of the Yadu dynasty, and how Kali personified went to Kurukshetra to meet with Krishna at the solar eclipse when they were all there and said, "My Lord, please allow me to do my duty to you. My duty is to absorb everyone in sinful activities, but as long as you're here, I can't do it. You've got to let me do my job." So Krishna's thinking, what we're going to do. As long as the Yadu dynasty is here, he won't be able to do it either. And as long as people, follow the principle of the Yadu dynasty, then again he won't be able to do it. So I better do something so that everyone thinks the Yadu dynasty were an ordinary bunch of guys who fought with each other, got drunk and smashed each other to death. So he arranged this whole thing so that the atheists could sort of criticize and get into Maya deeply. And even his own departure was to enable that same factor. Well, that's not really his departure, but he arranged this whole thing. He said, I've got to think of a way to create adharma. Krishna said, yes, this age is the age of adharma, irreligion. So I have to think of a way to bring about irreligion. Krishna's thinking, can you imagine? Yada yada hi dharmasi. We don't generally hear that side of things. And that's also necessary, time and circumstance, to facilitate those persons who are adamant about being irreligious. Even that is, without Krishna's arrangement, wouldn't be possible. Krishna's behind everything. To see that. There's no devil who's competing with Krishna. This is just a kind of thing we tell children or something, how you're born or, who's God. They can't understand. You make some kind of, something that they can understand. That's like the devil is like the representative of sin, enticing us to sin. Don't go there. We have to go, it's not just about don't go there, we have to go where we're meant to go, not where we're not meant to go. We're meant to go to Krishna. And that's by performing activities for his pleasure, not just avoiding things he doesn't like, but doing things which bring him pleasure. That's how love develops. Otherwise it's not love, it's just fear or some other principle. Finish the purport, and I guess then we have to finish. Everything is meant for satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, since Bali Maharaj had satisfied the Lord, he had no faults. And Shukracharya admitted that cursing him was not good. But I'll just mention the last two things which I didn't mention before. I was just beginning. We mentioned Duryodhana, who's often considered like that as being some kind of demon. And he's acting as a demon, but you may have noticed, if you read the Bhagavatam, and perhaps a little bit easier in the Krishna book, you'll see that for some reason, mystical reason, Balaram always seems to favor Duryodhana. Isn't it weird? He wanted to kill Arjuna when Arjuna pinched Subhadra, right? He was about to kill him. Krishna had to calm him down. At the Battle of Kurukshetra, he was really upset with Bhima. He was really upset with the whole affair. The cheating, you could say, from a mundane perspective, was going on. He always had this soft spot, not just because he was the teacher of Duryodhana. Yes, he taught him a few things with a club and this and that. And Hare Prabhupada asked Prabhupada, why was that, Prabhupada? And Prabhupada said, Duryodhana is the eternal servant of Balaram. He's his eternal servant. He's just playing the role of a demon. But he's actually his eternal servant. They're playing roles, these persons, in many ways, you can say. You look at it from the pastime point of view, otherwise we'll think it doesn't really have any relevance in one sense, but it's important to note we don't become kind of like negatively offensive or anything, and forget that this is actually meant for us. Arjuna was bewildered purposely so that we could hear Bhagavad Gita. It wasn't that he was bewildered, but he took that role purposely for our benefit. So, negatively, positively, the Lord's associates may take these positions for the Lord's purpose. They have no business in this world, other than to fulfill the Lord's purpose of coming in this world, or his mission in this world. We take advantage of this. There are many unending lessons from this pastime. We will finish there. Any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Hey, Krishna Maharaj. You mentioned the next verse is one of your favorite verses.
Yeah.
Can you explain why?
Well, it'll be the next class, won't it? In fact, we could even speak on it tomorrow, because Srila Prabhupada writes in one purport, that in the execution of all sacrifices, this pastime should be recited. I don't know if it's where it is. I don't know, at the end of this chapter or previous chapter, somewhere in one of the purports. I don't know where it is, but somewhere. So quite often at a yajna, although initiation is not required, it's specifically referring to any kind of yajna relating to this world. Initiation is not, but yajnas like housewarming ceremonies and anything, child, various samskaras and so on, vivaha yajna, all these things, this pastime could be recited to bring about auspiciousness in the yajna, at least indicated by the priest. But tomorrow's verse, we often mention it. I don't know if it's tomorrow's verse, but the next verse in Bhagavatam, spoken by Shukracharya. I'll just read the English, since you probably, if you haven't got your mobile open, you won't know what it is maybe. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing the mantras and observing the regulative principles. And moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, and paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. It's a very famous verse. Prabhupada quotes it sometimes also. A very significant verse. We sometimes get hung up. We talked about getting hung up on secondary efforts to solve all the problems, but also getting hung up on all the details and missing the very point. It's self. You go into some yajnas, marriage yajnas, even initiation yajnas, sometimes there's no chanting of Hare Krishna. And nobody knows what the priest is saying. He's going on and on and on. On and on, sometimes for an hour. And nobody has a clue what's going on. And I don't even know if he does. Maybe. Maybe he knows. Not necessarily. And no, it's not a joke. I experienced one yajna, and it became clear halfway through that they were doing the wrong thing. It was a marriage yajna, and they were chanting the sannyas mantras. They didn't know. They turned the page, missed the page, and they came to the wrong section of the book. I don't know how the marriage ended up. I don't know. But the main thing in all yajnas is chanting Hare Krishna. Nothing else works. Not a waste of time. It brings people in. It creates some kind of, devotees. It's not a waste of time. But without the chanting of Hare Krishna, it's missing the point. Even when Prabhupada installed Krishna Bharam in Vrindavan, he said, actually, all we have to do is chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada was very clever. He engaged all the local pandits in the installation, so they couldn't say this is not authorized because they did the installation. Some of them. And, probably very clever like that, but ultimately, there's no other yajna that works, just chanting Hare Krishna. Everything's in the holy name. Not that we should sidestep that and, become other, just like taking second initiation, all these very valuable in one sense because it's meant to help us to go deeper into the holy name or service to the name. It does. It attracts people to come to the temple, the beautiful deity worship here, and the seriousness of the pujaris. It makes us serious. So we get a little lazy otherwise. We're very lazy in this age, And you all the mantras to chant and various mudras and this and that. It helps us to become a little more serious about our service. But the ultimate thing is we become attracted to Krishna. If it doesn't help us to get attracted to Krishna, and Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, if it doesn't help us, he's more specific. He said if these activities that we do, if they don't help us to become attracted to Sankirtan, are an impediment on the path. They're not necessary, they're actually an impediment on our purposeful path. They're meant to attract us to the Sankirtan. He said that Sankirtan is the only infallible means of success. There is no other. It's the emperor of all sadhana. So all the kings, they're all kings, they should all be serving the emperor, which is congregational chanting of the holy name. It's the emperor of all our activity. Everything's for that. In this Kali Yuga particularly. In the spiritual world also takes a broader perspective, but congregational kirtan, Sankirtan is the essential, let's say, nature of the spiritual realm. It takes different forms. And in this world it takes different forms according to the pure devotee's directive. But we should understand that we also have to perform that yajna, Sankirtan yajna. Srila Prabhupada, I guess there's a hand up here from, used to be known as Dancing Daniel Das. As soon as they say Hare Krishna, he jumps up in the air and starts dancing. As long as he doesn't break his toe in the process. Even he broke his toe about a month or two ago, but he didn't stop, he carried on. He was supposed to be resting it, but his rest was to not put as much pressure as usual on the toe when he jumped up in the air. Yes, now he's known as Dayo Garangadas. No longer DDD, it's DGD. Okay, DG.
Maharaj, you said that the devotees often play the best demons.
Oh.
Is it that the demoniac people often play the best devotees?
The demons play the best devotees.
In the plays?
Well, Prabhupada's orchestrating this drama, and who knows? Yeah, it could be. I mean, at least we can talk. I can't say best, but Prabhupada's engaged persons coming from very demoniac backgrounds in at least playing the role, trying to play the role, at least of some form of devotee or something. And he said that the Chinese people will be the slowest, but they'll be the best devotees when they come. I don't know if you want to take that into account or not, but we're not degrading anywhere, we're all in the same boat, but it could be. And we see that converts, for instance, religious converts, particularly you see in India, converts to Christianity, for instance, are usually the most ardent and fanatical representatives of the whatever it is. You can't get past them by any means. They're unrelenting and unreasonable. Sometimes it's like that. So I don't know. That's not exactly, you could say. I don't know any example in the Krishna book. Maybe you can think of one where a demon, they may become devotees, of course, but you could say in this world, at least anyway, that experience that you've had of the material world is a powerful experience which is a conviction, something you can relate to when people are in that situation, whatever it is, material situation they're in, can kind of relate to it. And sometimes that makes it easier to connect people, because if you come from the spiritual world, that's great, I mean, that's what we need, but it's hard for people who are conditioned to relate to, we're not in that position. So when someone from the material world becomes a devotee, it has a very powerful effect, very powerful. And it can be done, it's possible. It's possible. But I don't know of any examples. We know examples of Krishna's devotees who Krishna wants to take the role of demons. Hiranyakashipu probably, and his brother are probably the most famous. But there are others too. They take that. Chitraketu in a different way took that role as well. And in the Bhagavatam there may be a few others you can think of. Many of the demons even who attack Vrindavan are not really demons per se. They're behaving like demons. They did something wrong and they got cursed and they took, some demoniac form and attacked Krishna. All part of Krishna's pastimes. Ordinary demons, they can't really do much. Krishna doesn't waste his time with ordinary demons. Got better things to do than that. Okay, we better. Okay. Yes.
Maharaj, you mentioned that majority can after the age of 50, properly take up vanaprastha because there's so much
the age
attachment.
of 50 one should take vanaprastha, yeah.
So do you have any, well, you also mentioned that it's not the physical state, but it is the consciousness.
In reality, yes.
Yeah, so what has Prabhupada, I mean, from what we've heard, and what is a recommendation for devotees, how to progressively...
Jayadvaita Maharaj is about to produce a book on this subject matter. I produced a manual on this 25 years ago almost, which I guess he's taken from there also. It never got printed as a book, could have didn't get printed, so you have to read that. There are many quotes, examples, indications, Prabhupada's take on this. He wanted that we provide facilities, for instance. One of probably the most written ones is that Vrindavan, Mayapur, he even mentioned Hyderabad, and it could be anywhere, come to that, farm communities, should provide facilities for elderly persons to come and retire and spend their last years in a Krishna conscious atmosphere, and to become free of the attachments which we have in our normal lives, which we don't realize until they're broken. Don't realize how attached we actually are to the comforts of home, the independence that we kind of independence we have. You have your own money, you have your own facilities in so many ways, and you can leave it, take it or leave it. But vanaprastha is like letting go of that and taking complete shelter of Krishna, depending on Krishna. The vanaprastha is the ashram of taking complete shelter of Krishna. So as long as we're taking shelter of other atmasanyas, satsvapis, these fallible soldiers of this world, then maybe we're still too attached. I remember giving a seminar a long time back in Mayapur on vanaprastha. One of the participants said, "But what do I do when I'm old? I need an insurance policy, and I need this, and I need that." I said, "Don't worry about that. You're not ready for vanaprastha. If you're still worrying about your insurance, you're still worrying about your kids, you're still worrying about who's going to pay the mortgage, you're not ready for vanaprastha." It's just a concept. So you have to approach it in a different way and try to develop that detachment in the situation. When I was given a seminar in Mumbai, in Chowpatty, I thought, but then now they're different. They've moved forward. That's just 20, 25, 30 years ago. I said, "Maharaj, we're not going to do that here." I wasn't a Maharaj then anyway by name. They said, "We're not going to do that here. We're all going to stay at home. We're not going anywhere." Oh, okay. That's another approach, and there's a section there on that too. As the main section is what most people will do. You cultivate it at home. You try to engage in full devotional service. Another aspect of vanaprastha is 100% devotional service. There's no reading of newspapers, going on social media, becoming another stir of the rumors and so on. That doesn't exist in vanaprastha ashram. Purely focused on pure devotional service. That should be the goal. Whether you're home or in the forest, it doesn't matter. What is that lovely song of Bhaktivedanta Thakur? You know that song? Gai Guru Madhusare, Gai Guru Madhusare. You know that song? Krihe Tako Vani Tako, Sadhari Bole Dako, Sukhe Dukhe Bulonako, Vadane Harinam Korore. What does he say? Whether you go to the forest or whether you stay at home, always chant the holy name of Krishna. Whether you're happy or distressed, fill your lips always, fill your mouth always with the holy name of Krishna. Always chant. So wherever you are, chant, chant, chant. So vanaprastha, grihastha, it doesn't matter whichever ashram, as much as possible, follow this principle of given in Bhaktivedanta song there. Always chant wherever you can. particularly Vanaprasthas, is meant to give us that facility to be completely focused on that objective, without any deviation, without any other responsibility, no business, no family commitments, no grandma and grandpa sitting with the kids all day long, the grandchildren, that is. Most of the devotees, they find that when their children have kids, they end up the rest of their life looking after their kids' kids. Very common. It's all right, they're devotees, so that's nice. And especially the grandmother, that's normal. After some time she'll do that. But the grandpa should be showing the higher principle if possible. Should be, if possible. But it's not usually the case in practical terms. So they show it in other terms, you do it in other terms. You focus on chanting, serving, doing whatever preaching you can, whatever your talents are, you try to offer them voluntarily, by the way. There's no question of a wage in Vanaprastha ashram. How much the temple is going to pay me. This is unfortunate, the Kali Yuga situation, that sometimes devotees have to be paid for doing service. And it's almost unavoidable in many cases. It's not what Prabhupada wanted. But it's, one of those things. And deity worship, especially for Vanaprasthas, is an ideal service, by the way. But it must be done voluntary, with no physical remuneration or expectation. Not that you go on the altar and you stash all the Mahaprasadam in your box. And, whatever else, all the privileges you get. No, that's not going to do much good. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanandi. Hare Krishna. Of all the devotees here right now, who's the best one for knowing all the names in the community? They're here now, I've got to speak to someone now. Stand up and look quickly. Here's a good one. He's a good one? Yes. Okay, I need to sit with him quietly for a while, go through the names. I'm told you're the best one. You're the president here, is that right? No.